Valentine's Day, a day of hearts, flowers, chocolates, and endless I love yous. For many, it's the highlight of the year, a day dedicated to affection, romance, and of course, the pressure of showing how much you truly care. But let me ask you this. What if the real story behind Valentine's Day isn't all red roses and cuddles? What if, just beneath the surface of all the glittery cards and candlelit dinners, Valentine's Day has a much darker and far more complicated history? And that sounds like a mystery, doesn't it? And like any good mystery, there are layers to peel back, truths to uncover, and a whole lot of wait what possible moments. So buckle up because we're about to take a journey deep into the heart of Valentine's Day, a journey that may just change how you see this holiday forever. Let's go back in time, way back, to Rome in the 5th century BC, to the heart of the Roman Empire, a place where rituals were often wild, violent, and beyond the understanding of modern-day sensibilities. The people of Rome had a festival that was celebrated with an intensity that's hard to fathom today. The name of this festival? Lupercalia. The festival was dedicated to the Roman god Faunus, the deity of fertility, agriculture, and the wild. Faunus was often depicted as a half-human, half-goat figure, resembling the Greek god Pan. He embodied the raw, untamed forces of nature, and his worship involved rites that were far from peaceful. The Romans believed that by honoring Faunus, they could ensure a good harvest, increase fertility, and encourage the continuation of life. But as with many ancient festivals, things weren't as serene as the modern world might like to imagine. Lupercalia was marked by ritual sacrifices, frenzied celebrations, and strange, almost barbaric practices. It wasn't a time for gentle love or serenades. It was a chaotic, bloody event, and it was anything but romantic by today's standards. On February 15th, the day of Lupercalia, Roman priests known as Luperci gathered at the Lupercal cave, the mythical cave where Romulus and Remus, the legendary founders of Rome, were said to have been suckled by the she-wolf, Lupa. This sacred site was central to the celebration of Lupercalia. The ritual began with the sacrificial slaughter of goats and a dog. Yes, you read that correctly. Goats and dogs. The blood of the sacrificed animals was collected and used in the ritual. After the sacrifice, the priest would cut the goat's skins into strips, turning them into long, bloody pieces called februa. These strips were used in the next phase of the ritual. Imagine the scene for a moment. The air is thick with the scent of blood, and the tension is palpable. The priests, draped in animal skins, carry the bloodied remains of the goats, ready for what comes next. The beat of drums echoes across the valley, marking the beginning of the wild celebrations. It's not the love-filled atmosphere we envision today. It's raw, untamed, and primal. Here's where things get even more intense and a bit disturbing. The young men of Rome, after the sacrifices, would take the februa, the bloody goatskin strips, and run through the streets of the city. But this wasn't some sort of fun jog. They would whip women with the strips. Yes, you read that correctly. These young men would literally strike women with bloody strips of animal skin. Now, before you go into shock, understand that this wasn't done out of malice. The act was believed to hold fertility powers. The Romans believed that if women were struck by the strips, they would become more fertile, able to bear children more easily. It was a bizarre and unsettling method of invoking fertility, but it was taken seriously by the people of Rome. Let's pause and reflect on this. You're a woman in ancient Rome, and one of the young men of the city runs up to you, a wild look in his eyes, and smacks you with a strip of bloody goatskin. It's not an act of tenderness or romance. It's about invoking something much deeper, something ancient, primal, and frankly, unsettling. But here's where the weirdness doesn't end. The festival included a random pairing of men and women. Young women would place their names in an urn, and young men would randomly draw them. For the duration of the festival, the man and woman were considered partners. In many cases, these pairings led to more than just temporary bonds. Some of the pairings resulted in marriages, and for those who didn't end up married, the memories of the festival remain. Okay, so now we have a Valentine's Day based on a Christian martyr. But here's where things get really interesting, or perhaps disastrous, depending on your perspective. The commercialization of the holiday. This wasn't always a day for buying chocolates and fancy dinners. No, my friends, it was about selling love. By the 19th century, as industrialization and mass production began to take over, Valentine's Day became a perfect opportunity for merchants to capitalize on the human obsession with love. Enter mass-produced greeting cards, flowers shipped worldwide, and chocolates shaped like hearts, all strategically marketed to make sure that you, the humble consumer, felt like you had to buy these things to prove your love. And prove it we did, or should I say, spend it we did. Let's talk about the sheer scale of money that flows into industries during this so-called celebration of love. The chocolate industry alone sees over $1.8 billion in sales during Valentine's Day. Whether it's heart-shaped boxes or special truffles, consumers flock to buy their sweets to show their affection. Teddy bears and other stuffed animals are another big-ticket item. People shell out over $1 billion just on these cuddly tokens of affection. Yes, a plush bear with a heart tag is really worth that much. The restaurant industry isn't left behind either, pulling in a staggering $5.8 billion from the millions of dinners booked for two. From casual dining to extravagant feasts, restaurants know that the way to anyone's heart is through their stomach. And let's not forget the greeting card market, estimated to generate $1.2 billion in sales. After all, who doesn't love a sweet message that you probably could have written yourself, but let's not be too frugal. Now, this all adds up to a mind-blowing $30 billion spent annually in the U.S. alone during this commercial holiday. So when you buy that heart-shaped box of chocolates or reserve a table for two at a fancy restaurant, you're not just showing affection, you're helping to make this day a multi-billion-dollar industry. Think of it this way. Valentine's Day is like the Black Friday of the love industry. Imagine being told that if you don't spend a significant amount of money on a gift, you're somehow failing in the love department. Does that sound like love to you, or does it sound like a master class in marketing? Because you know nothing says I love you like being guilted into purchasing a $40 teddy bear with a heart-shaped tag attached. Romantic, right? Now let's talk about the pressure. Valentine's Day isn't just about the gifts. It's about creating the perfect Instagram-worthy moment. Everyone's posting pictures of fancy dinners, rose petals strewn across the floor, and perfectly framed love notes that are almost too staged to be real. And suddenly you're left wondering if your humble pizza and Netflix binge with your partner is enough. Spoiler, it's probably not. Instagram says otherwise. You're scrolling through your feed, and there it is. That couple in Paris with their Eiffel Tower backdrop, sipping wine in a candlelit bistro. Next, you see another friend, arms draped around their partner, with a dozen red roses held high, glowing under a soft pink filter. And then you look down at your own phone, at your Instagram story, and it's you and your partner trying to pose in front of a soggy pizza box while deciding which Netflix series to finish. Suddenly, you're questioning everything. Are we doing love wrong? The expectation isn't just that you celebrate love. It's that you create a flawless, social media-approved moment that proves your love is as deep as the ocean and as exciting as a rom-com montage. It's not enough to simply enjoy each other's company. Now you need to capture it, share it, and then hope that your curated moment will receive the validation you deserve. What could be more romantic than seeking approval from strangers on the internet? But here's the dark. As we've seen, Valentine's Day is far more than just a day to celebrate love. It's a holiday with deep roots in ancient rituals, wrapped up in layers of consumerism and laced with the pressures of modern life. But that doesn't mean we can't take control of how we experience it. So this Valentine's Day, ask yourself, what does love really mean to me? And remember, love isn't something that comes in a heart-shaped box or a bouquet of roses. Sometimes the most meaningful expressions of love come from the simplest gestures. Because in the end, real love isn't about buying into a holiday. It's about finding ways to nurture and appreciate the connections that truly matter.